The reason we were on the newspaper here, a story in the paper, the reason we were on radio here is because we were going to be today in the street. The message that we have was heard by thousands of people on the radio on Friday. People read this newspaper and they know that this is happening. People who work in this plant know this quality. Because we're in the street, we're not exchanging emails with each other, we're not making each other feel good about how great of an insight we have into what's going on in the world today. It's because people have broken with what their normal routine is, taken a risk to come here because some people thought there would be violent protesters here. People told me that. We also run the risk of being very unpopular with many of our friends who feel as though we have to go and kill Russians because Putin is an evil devil. So even in our own homes, even in our own families, even in our back and forth with people that we meet in stores and offices, we can be very, very unpopular. And so we have to be out in the street to break the silence. Break the silence. And we can only do that in the street. We can only be educating people in the street. And I hope each of us will not wait for somebody else to organize the next protest. Figure out where you can make yourself a real nuisance for peace wherever you're at. So, Bennett, speaking of a nuisance of peace, you go.
Oh, thank you, Nick. I can't think of a higher compliment than a nuisance for peace. My new nickname.
Yeah.
Oh, I need this?
Yeah, lift it up and hold
okay,
it
I got
like
it.
that.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't plan on speaking here today. I came down from Newburgh following my GPS, which led me onto something called the Joe Biden Expressway. So I immediately hit my GPS and asked for an alternate route. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to find one. At any rate, Nick introduced me a little bit correctly. I support the work of every single group that I've heard speak here today. I attend every single rally that I can, but I also do something a little different. I stand all by myself most of the time. I've been doing it since this war began on various street corners, at farmers markets, and I hold up my sign. And this, I hold it up to traffic, I hold it up to pedestrians. Hold it up again, okay. Oh, got it. Okay, now I just want to give you some good news first. When I first started doing this, I got a lot more middle fingers up than thumbs up. I got a lot more screaming, what the hell you doing, you commie, you Putin lover, blah, blah, blah. Now it's finally reversing. And it's not a scientific estimate, but I've done this literally hundreds and hundreds of times already. And so I do feel that there's something shaking, but that's not what I want to talk about. I promised Nick I would keep it down to 3 minutes. I believe I have 2 minutes, 11 seconds left. So please remind me if I get too close to that.
I will.
I'm sure Nick will. Oh, okay. Look, as I said, I've been doing this like many of you since the 60s. And I've been to every peace rally that I could possibly attend, from Washington or anywhere else. But I'm a little bit concerned, and I offer this not as criticism, but as just a friendly observation from an ally. I'm a little bit perturbed that there aren't a lot more peace rallies being called for. For the life of me, I can't understand why I don't have 5 of them to choose from every day. I am baffled that there are not millions of people in the street to stop nuclear annihilation. And I just hope I have a chance here, a rare opportunity to speak to a lot of organizers at once. So just as an independent guy who doesn't have the resources himself to organize a huge event, I am pleading with you to give me something that I can help you work on, but I don't see it, and it's troubling. And one other quick thing that I want to share with you. It's an observation that I'm sharing that really is a little bit tangential, but I hope you'll take it for what it's worth. One of the things that I find upsetting about a lot of the people on the left, the organizers and the influencers, if you will, is this statement about Russia committed a war crime. It was an unjustified act of of aggression. But these very same people know all the provocations. They know what happened. I don't understand. It's incongruous to me that people could, especially after a year and a half of seeing what we've been doing, how obvious it is that we've been itching for this war since 1917, not since 2014. We've been at constant war with Russia. So I just want people to rethink that a little and say what I believe, at least I'd love to hear someone say, which is, don't worry about Russia. Forget about Russia. Worry about what we are doing. Thank you.
Bennett, here's the sign.
Oh, thank you.
Our last speaker, there'll be something happening after our last speaker. Our last speaker is Deborah Sweet. Deborah has had a tremendous amount of determination and staying power over the years, and ups and downs of public interest and concern about war, about people's rights, and still constantly being out there with a very creative attitude and creative movement. So, Deborah, thank you very much for being here today.
Okay, when they say you have staying power, what do they really mean? You're old, but we are seasoned.
But you're here.
Everyone
That's
with
the
gray
point.
hair here, we are seasoned and we are here. And I, like all the other speakers, really appreciate Nick and Jack for pulling this together. And I'm echoing Bennett. We should be protesting much more. When you are last, you need to be brief and concise. I'm not going to go on. You're all standing in the sun. I have 3 examples and 1 challenge. We have a tremendous situation here, a tremendously difficult situation in that we are facing an election over the next 18 months in a time of great international instability. No one else today has yet mentioned China, but I know we are all thinking about it in relation to the U.S. war moves against China, focused on Taiwan, bringing Japan out of a period of saying they were only going to have a defensive military and changing it. These are huge changes. We have a discussion at the top of our government right now over whether the National Defense Authorization should be passed. Has this happened on these terms before? None of us wants this authorization, all right? We've not wanted any of them. But you have the fascist judge from Georgia coming in and saying, I'm not going to sign this because I want you to keep women enslaved. You know, God damn it. Both sides of this are wrong. And this is something I wanted to raise as an example. In 1967, I was in high school in Madison, Wisconsin, a little short way from the University of Wisconsin campus. So it's fall of 1967, and what does it get revealed that the U.S. is doing? A lot of us remember the picture of the child who was napalmed. Napalm. Okay, so the University of Wisconsin is working with Dow on research. I'm sitting in French class one day, and Madame Nestler says, girls and boys, we're going to close the windows because there's tear gas coming in, and we are not going to go out there and have anything to do with that horrible protest. And I started thinking, I'm in French class. France started this war in Vietnam. The U.S. is carrying it on. I did not leave class, but I did go down to campus and start learning about what was going on. And every significant thing I have learned since is that it is the people in the streets and in motion taking the future into our own hands, and not the politicians that ever change anything for the better. The people have to move first. Second example, last night I went to see the film Oppenheimer. Don't know if anyone else has seen it yet, it just opened. I'm not advocating for the film as all the truth, but I'll tell you, you could spend a worse 3 hours right now in really grappling with what that Manhattan Project represented. Here you had leftists, progressives, communists, and Jews brought together by the US military to build a bomb to defeat the Nazis. They almost all felt they were doing the right thing. This was a friggin' disaster for humanity that they persevered, did that test, and then the minute they did the test in July, everything was taken out of their hands, and Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed. It was much worse than they expected. I'm not standing up for those scientists, but a lot of them did protest afterwards, and a lot of them got the worst of HUAC and the worst of McCarthy and the worst treatment. I was in a theater in Brooklyn last night that was completely filled with Gen X and millennials watching this film. I was one of the oldest people there. This was a tremendous opportunity to come out of that film and talk to people. Because this film is looking forward. Of course you can look back, but look forward and think about what this means, that they built this bomb and they gave it to the most powerful imperialist power in the world. And it's now holding those bombs over the heads of every human being. We have to go talk to people about this. That's how we have a movement. Go to those showings, talk to people, take your peace buttons, take your flyers, get something going, because people have got to understand this moment. The third short example I'll give is that my organization, World Can't Wait, in 2008 began organizing veterans to go into schools and talk to high school students about the simple fact that if you sign up for the US military, you are in grave danger of losing your own humanity, losing the rest of your life functionally, and creating participation in a war crime. And I have to tell you that after these 15 years, we actually now have more requests than ever. The US military is having a hard time recruiting. Young people are saying, why would I do that? Women are saying, why would I sign up and be sent to a base in a state where I cannot get reproductive health care? This system is poised on the edge. And the challenge is, what are we going to do about it to transform this situation? We want a new society where people's basic needs are met for a change. That's in line with the interests of humanity. We need this globally. But here we are in the richest country of the world, and we have to take action around that. I have ideas on what we need and what we should demand. Yes, abolish nuclear weapons. Yes, end war forever. And many other things that we could do if we didn't have this strangling system represented by General Dynamics, the US military, and the whole capitalist imperialist empire.
That's right.
The last challenge I have is that some of us drove all the way from the city. Everyone's come for a while. I would hate to just take off and get back in the car without at least anybody who can stay putting their heads together, maybe in the shade, maybe with some water, and some music. And I again thank everyone for being here, and especially to the organizers who really taught us about the cluster bomb. We could use the example, oh, I forgot this, of the students protesting Dow, protesting napalm very viscerally. We could be protesting cluster bombs in the same way, not to mention the atomic weapons that are hanging over our heads. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much, Deborah.